Remember, we're talking about the economic impact of telecom tariff hike on households and the fate of Nigerians. And of course, we have in the studio a public relations practitioner. He was here and he is still here, but because of the poor network connection here, we have him back. I'm talking about Emmanuel Inebeli, who is here and he was here with us. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for calling us back again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, we were just about asking you a question before that breaking communication. Now, the question was, are there any modalities put in place to ensure quality of service, hence the increase in tariff hike in Nigeria?
First of all, the issue of increase in Nigeria in any product is always a problem. And yes, we equally know there's an agency in charge of moderating and overseeing the telecom companies, which is the NCC. In this case, the NCC and the Nigeria Protection Commission Agency have assured Nigerians that the increase will not be automatically done. There are certain things they've tried to put together over a time to ensure that operation is a smooth service offered to Nigerians. And in other words, they want to see that when there's an increase in this increase of 50%, the consumers will get maximum benefit of what they are paying for, knowing fully well that this increase is going to affect a lot of businesses and a lot of companies, including the banks. The banks may soon start charging us extra for this, and there will be also a very big communication divide between many of us, as many cannot be able to buy airtime regularly to make calls. So there's going to increase in a communication divide, both within the cities and between the cities and the rural areas. So the agency in charge have assured us that yes, let us allow the increase of the cost of operations, but they equally ensure that Nigerians will not be cheated due to the increase. So let us hope that what they've promised to do, they will keep to it, implement it. We know how Nigeria is when they make promise. Most time from the government age.
Anybody can hear us?
No. Oh, okay. I think we still lost the connection there. Well, in any case, I think maybe it's going to be fine with time. I think what he's saying is that we hope, when it comes to hopes, actually people
we keep hoping. We practically live on hope in Nigeria.
Hope in Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, there was a time that I was talking to one of my friends, and he would say that Nigerians are reactive and not proactive. So I was asking, how do you mean by Nigerians? Okay, we have him back. I think we seem to have him back again here. You're just about asking me.
Okay, yes, anybody, you're welcome back. Can you hear us now? Are you there? Anybody, can you hear us?
Oh. Well, that seems to be, the network is giving us passes there.
Yeah.
And so we'll try to see how we move on. You were just about making a point there. And now he said that Nigerians are reactive and not proactive. Mm-hmm. So I would ask, why do you say that? And then he would say that Nigerians will wait until when something happens, then they will begin to find people to blame, being reactive. But being proactive is that you try to provide some certain mitigations to ensure that things don't happen. You prevent them from happening. Now, the removal of fuel subsidy, a lot of people said this is a good plan because if we remove subsidy, we could use the finances that we are using to subsidize petrol to do other sectors. Now, but before you remove that, what are the modalities put in place? If fuel subsidy is removed, of course, the prices of things will skyrocket. And Nigeria has refineries. Nigeria needs to make refineries working again before we remove fuel subsidy. Because the reason why we remove it was the fact that we cannot refine fuel And so if we rely on people going there to refine fuel and bring it back to Nigeria, it is going to be very exorbitant. So let's make sure that we have this in place before we do that. Now, you're talking about removing or increasing tariff of communication sector. Now, what are the modalities put in place to ensure that Nigerians have value for their money?
The money, yes.
That's the question. You know, a lot of lives were lost because you know that just like the masses, Karl Marx would say that man cannot not communicate, which it means that in every setting you must communicate.
Yes.
Communication is very vital. So if I have to go to the hospital, for instance, maybe I'm in the house, I have a wife or I have a girlfriend, I have a sister, and then maybe she is sick, and I need to call somebody, maybe a cab driver or anybody is going to transport us from there. That is if I'm not mobile. So I have to call. And then at that point, I cannot call. Maybe there's no poor network signals at my end or at the person's end. So a life could be lost if there's breaking communication. So there's something maybe we just needed to,
get our guests to talk about.
Exactly.
You know how once maybe it's the festive season and we have so many persons using the phone lines at the same time, how we usually have very epileptic network. We see on New Year Day where, almost everyone in Nigeria, they're trying to call their loved ones, especially around that 12 a.m. We always have bad network. I hope you
crossover calls.
The crossover night calls, yes. Have you noticed that the network is usually jammed up because so many persons are using even the internet, normal direct calls, they are usually jammed up and super slow because so many persons are using it at the same time. Now, maybe this could be sort of discouraging because people will still be like, we get to pay for this and we don't use it. But then what can we fall back to? Are we going to fall back to the days of landlines, or are we going to go back to the days of sending birds on errands or something? Because now that it's getting expensive, like our guests were just talking about how it's Nigeria where you were given assurances, you were asked to have hope, but at the end of the day, your hope is dashed. What if our hopes get dashed? What if these assurances, at the end of the day, they're just futile because they don't do what they have said they are going to do. Who is going to be there to fight for Nigerians? You just talked about how Nigerians are not proactive. Instead, we are reactive. Now, what would you expect Nigerians to have done in that situation? Well, the president said no more fuel subsidy. What can the ordinary Nigerian do? Maybe some would say, okay, instead of just sitting at home and sort of going on strike where nobody buys the petrol, we're just sitting at home. Some business people will say to you that, well, I still have to go to my businesses. So in one way or the other, and not everyone loses out. So that's why I think that's why it's been that way. Not everyone loses out. No matter how expensive things become, not everyone loses out.
Not everyone. Now, before then, actually, we're trying to see if we can reconnect with Emmanuel Nebali to continue with that conversation. But of course, we have very, very disturbing stories in Nigeria. Now, the next one here, remember that President Bola Tinubu says that he's running an administration that have zero tolerance to corruption.
Yes.
And of course, he has to encourage accountability, fairness to the people. Now, because of that here, we have this story. It's quite disturbing here. World Bank's ban to Nigerian firms, CEO over corruption.
Yes.
World Bank. Okay. Now, let's have the lead stories from there in that story as we actually talked about it here. The World Bank has imposed a 30-month debarment two Nigerian companies, Viva Atlantic Limited and Technology House Limited, alongside their managing director and chief executive officer, Norman Didam, over alleged corruption practices. And of course, the other one said the 30 months debarment bars Viva Atlantic Limited, Technology House Limited, and Didam from participating in World Bank Group financed projects and operations. Okay, so if you look at that, it says that they play a particular role that go through some irregular way of going to get finances. But of course, I have signals from the production department that we have him back here. Let's try to see if we'll reconnect with Emmanuel Nebali. Emmanuel Nebali, you're welcome once again. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just like Martin Luther, we shall overcome. Thank you.
We shall overcome.
We appreciate it. Now, Marvelous, I think you were just about asking the question.
Yes. So, well, before the network cut us off, you were talking about how Nigerians have been given the assurances that so many things will be put in place before it's implemented. And according to the reports that we have, it's going to take effect in February, Silas, if I'm right. It's going to take effect in February. So what if February comes and it's implemented, and at the end of the day, Nigerians still don't get quality service delivery? What is the role of the NCC, the Consumer Protection? What can they do for Nigerians at that point?
For one, I think for the NCC and for the Consumer Protection Agency, I think they've been very active of recent compared to before. And I hope, I pray that that activeness they've brought into the Nigerian economy and businesses of recent should be extended to the implementation of this increment by ensuring and calling the attention of the operators that they have to, at any time, see that their system have to be in order for people to make seamless calls, seamless data usage. Now, we have experienced downtime up to 4 or 5 times in this program. So with increase we are not expected to start having this type of thing in a program like this. Because it's not, what it means that we already see the effect of Nigerian telecommunication system in this program, whereby operations in businesses are interrupted. So they should try as much as possible. The NCC and the Consumer Protection Agency Commission should try as much as possible to ensure that these type of things are minimized. Yes, this technology will definitely have downtime, but it should always be minimized. So that most times we say the banks are not having network. They are not the ones in charge of network. They pay for it from the telecom companies. So they should ensure that the money that is going to be increased, the extra revenue will be used to implement upgrade in their systems for the Nigerians to have seamless communication in any form, be it in data or be it in voice call or SMS call, or be it being used in the banking sector or media organizations like Quest Television, or those who are online, who also stream online and make as part of their economic source to continuously being in business. So that is what this agency, NCC and the Consumer Protection Agency, have to up their game when this implementation begins.
Wow. Well, it's quite powerful. Actually, you are an online publisher, which means you're also a businessman who dwells so much on data subscription. Now, how well do you think, or how bad do you think this may affect businesses that operate solely online, or maybe have to rely absolutely on communication and data subscriptions?
It's going to increase, this increment is going to increase cost of production in everything, those that depends solely on e-business, especially e-business platforms, is going to increase cost of production. Already the e-business platforms are suffering the impact of the variation in our exchange rates between the dollar and the naira. They're already experiencing that. When you are seeing a naira to $1,700, they're already experiencing that. So when you bring in this one, it's going to increase the impact on their business expenses on daily basis, because they must have data to be online. Those ones that are those online media organizations who are just mainly streaming, they may not be able to meet up with if they were streaming, or if now they are streaming 12 hours, they may decide to cut down the number of hours they have to be streaming. So it's going to affect them. So it is everywhere, it's going to affect. But again, like I said at the beginning, these organizations are business organizations. There will be a time when there will be need for increment in their business services in terms of what they give to what they are selling to the public. But why they do that, they should ensure that the service they provide is quality-based service. That's what we are saying. NCC, Consumer Protection Commission, should ensure that the consumers in any form, be it individual or business organizations, get benefits from their payments to these telecom companies. They should, as much as possible, reduce downtime to the barest minimum. Thank you very much.
any plans by government or industrial intervention to mitigate the financial burden on the consumers of these telecom services? Are there anything you think maybe the government should do, or are there things the government industrial interventions to do to mitigate the financial burden on consumers?
The only thing I think we should do in terms of government is to ensure that I will not advocate that, again, like what we used to do, government should fall back in giving money to consumers, especially the businesses, trying to take part of the cost of running their business. I will not advocate for that. All I want to advocate for here is that, like I said earlier, the agencies concerned should try as much as possible to ensure that these companies keep to and work towards providing better services to the consumers. When they do that, I don't think to get to a point when even the consumers will even not feel the impact of the increment again, especially the businesses. And when they don't feel the impact again, they will probably give those that just they are servicing a better service and quality service and less costly service. So the basic thing is, for me, is let the companies, let the government agencies that are in charge to moderate the affairs of these organizations to be on their beat and do what is supposed to be at any time, because that's what Nigerians want. If the institutions are made strong, these things, Nigerians will not be complaining much. Actually, there are some clients where it's only based on taxation that they survive, but the institutions are working perfectly well. Our institutions need to be built to be made to work in a way that Nigerians will say, okay, yes, we are watching our back. That's my submission on this.
All right. Well, it seems like because we seem to be having some few minutes here to try to wrap up here. I don't know if Marvelous, if you have any questions for us to move forward from.
Okay. Yes. Before we started, we had already established the fact that most African countries get to pay higher tariff than Nigeria,
except for Ghana. Yeah.
Except for Ghana, because this has just been recently raised. But with the sort of service delivery that they get in those countries, can we even say that it's comparable to what we are paying for, while they still feel that what we are paying for is cheaper? But then we always complain about service delivery and the quality of their service. So with that at the back of your mind now, can you say that it's comparable or that it's fair enough?
Well, I didn't get that question.
So I'm asking if, with other African countries paying higher than we pay, can you say that what we are paying is fair enough or it's not comparable?
Yeah, most time we tend to always compare our economy and what we do to other countries, with other countries. And sometimes I just laugh over that type of comparison. Again, let's take Ghana, for instance. Ghana may be paying lesser. Ghana provides almost, let's say, not even exaggerate, it's assumed that there's always light for the industries there. There's always power to power most of these things they do there. And the industry, the institution there in Ghana, most of what they do is also seem to be better than that of Nigeria. That's for that. But however, for the same thing in Cameroon, our neighbor, I know that they have a very good, when it comes to power system, is steady. Power system in Cameroon is steady, and they supply the necessary needs in terms of water and power in that country. But again, it depends on the economic policy of this country and makes their own tariffs to be less, to be higher, also more than our own. So if we're comparing Nigeria with these countries, and South Africa, Cameroon is higher than ours, and Cameroon and Nigeria and Ghana is lesser than our own, well, I don't think looking at it from that angle, we say, okay, well, there are some countries in Africa that are even paying far, far more than our own, and we should don't accept it. Like I said earlier, for me, this discussion, we should look at it for about 16 years or thereabout. Companies are operating within one price regime. It is not good for businesses. It's not good for business in any way. Business should, when they get to a point, they should look at what are the indices, what are we doing? We know that most of them are running on generator. Why I'm supporting the increments? Because of what they do. They are running on generator, especially in our rural areas. Even in the big cities, they're running on generator.
Yes.
So the increment is not something we say, okay, we'll start comparing with other countries. What we should do is, if they're increasing because they're arguing they want to increase, let us now ensure that they give us the best services based on their increment. Maybe when maybe it may become like there was a time it was very high, and when Globacom came into the system, things start dropping to where we are today. So every of them, maybe we may get to that point in the nearest future. It's comparing Nigerian price regime with those countries for now. At least nobody will run a business for like Quest. I know when Quest came in on board, they've run the business for 16 years from what the argument is, and for the past more than 2 years they've been asking for increment. I think there's no need for me to compare the price regime difference with other countries. But let us pray that they give us the better service, so that Quest, when they are doing a program, they will not be going off, or we on another part of the business will not be struggling to achieve, to have so that we can have a free business discussion with a different person in different part of the world at the same time.
Yes. We are hoping for a time where that would come. I'd like to ask you this, that was my last question, Silas. This administration has been full of increases upon increases. This tariff hike is just one of out of many that we have got to experience this season. What can you say to Nigerians at this time? Should we brace up for more? Or, what are your words of hope to Nigerians at this time with the harsh economic realities?
When the president, right from the very first day he came into office, started the issue of deregulation by removing the subsidy in the petroleum industry, and it's expected, and that one also affected these telecom operators. So there's a link, and like as you said, virtually everything have been crying for increments since when the subsidies were removed. But again, I will also plead to the government that too much increase will not do us any good. The Nigerians are crying. Yes, there are a lot of areas that things are great. If you go to the market, you see something you see 10 naira today, tomorrow you go to that same market, that same buyer seller, is telling you 20 naira or 20,000 naira. So there are a lot of increment which is not good for us. So we advise and pray that the government will look into this and see how we can mitigate this excessive constant increment. And I think one of the ways they should do is to allow the refineries. There are many refineries in this country, probably modular refineries, who are operating, but they don't allow them to sell PMS. People don't know that. They only allow them to sell diesel. So they should allow these modular refineries to release their PMS to the public, to the market, so that if this price of PMS comes down, it will also affect the price of other goods, because it is the main engine of our economy for now.